Welcome, everybody. It's great to have you here, Judy. What
Thank you,
about
Russell.
you introduce yourself and give us a bit of background?
Well, yeah, I'm Dr. Judy Wilyman. I was a parent and a teacher in the early 1990s, and I got exposed to the extensive childhood vaccination program that had, tripled since, our generation was young. And I was also seeing a lot of chronic illness in children. It was skyrocketing through the 90s. And it occurred to me, I then was put onto literature as a science teacher that indicated that the ingredients of vaccines could be the cause of a lot of the chronic illnesses in our children. So around 2004, I decided to go back to Wollongong University to study the issue at university to see whether vaccines could be the cause of this chronic illness and whether vaccines were the major factor in controlling infectious diseases.
Dr. Judy Wilyman, what would you like to say to the Prime Minister of the day if you had him sitting in your lounge room, wherever you are now, and you had him sitting in front of you? What would you like to say to him, or the Health Minister?
I would say that they've been complicit in the biggest crime against humanity that's ever been committed, that the reason that we have informed consent to vaccination without coercion, manipulation or pressure, written in the guidelines, the ethical guidelines for doctors and practitioners, is that there is no drug that is safe in the majority of the population. And vaccines are a drug, and the chronic illnesses are linked to our genetics. And so many people that are mandated with these drugs are now predisposed to getting the chronic illnesses that we are seeing skyrocketing in our population, and which I saw starting in the schools in the early 1990s. They have the industry lobby groups and pharmaceutical companies now have too much power in the Australian Parliament, and they are preventing the public from having a voice in the Parliament in these policies when parents are the main stakeholders in these policies. And I will also point out that they need to look at the historical literature and understand that vaccines were not the major factor in reducing the risk of infectious diseases, and that every vaccine and drug must be a choice for the public in all of these issues, particularly vaccination, which is given to a healthy person.
Thank you. Dr. Judy Wilyman, if you're going to speak to the Human Rights Commissioner today, what would you say to her very briefly?
Well, they haven't been doing their job. We have ratified the international agreements, human rights agreements, and yet for over 10 years now, particularly since 2016, when the government was allowed to, without any jurisdiction, mandate these drugs in policies, the Human Rights Commission has let this all pass. So we have not been a nation that's been supporting human rights for over 10 years. And so they haven't fulfilled their role. They are completely, they have no teeth. In actually being able to ensure that the international covenants that Australia has ratified are actually being upheld in Australian laws and procedures. So the money going to the Human Rights Commission has been wasted now for many years, and the Australian population is suffering both mentally and physically, with the huge increase in disabilities, and the mental health across this country for having been coerced in a medical practice is huge. Mental health issues are also through the roof, and many families are in distress because of the division that's now been created because the Human Rights Commission would not support the fundamental human right of bodily autonomy in government policies.